very good morning to one and all. Today I am Faisal Tajwal going to speak on topic World Environment Day. World Environment Day is a day especially celebrated to know and solve all the environmental issues. It is also known as the Environment Day, Eco Day or WED. It is a great annual event focusing on the issues of the environment and trying to solve them completely. It is being celebrated for years worldwide with lots of creative activities and enthusiasm to bring positive changes in environment. Its aim is to protect the environment forever on the earth of the healthy possibility of life. It is celebrated annually on the 5th of June since 1973. However, declared in 1972 by the United Nations Assembly during the opening of the Conference on Human Environment, as well as to tell people about the importance of healthy and green environment on Earth. The annual celebration of it depends on the particular theme of the year suggested by United Nations. The theme of for this year is Reimagine, Recreate, Restore. My dear friends, this event is declared globally in more than 100 countries because the issue cannot be solved individually by one country. It is a global issue and needs to be solved globally by the involvement of all the countries worldwide. It is run by the United Nations Environment Programme, whereas its annual celebration is organized by the different host countries every year. The country which is hosting this year's Environment Day is Pakistan. First time the Environment Day was celebrated on 1973 with the theme of Only One Earth. The aim is to engage and draw the attention of millions of people, including political and health organizations from different countries across the world, to make new plans and implement them accordingly. It is very necessary to address issues with like wastage and losses of food, increasing global warming, deforestation, pollution, industrialization, etc. In order to control the negative environmental changes, its celebration also focuses on carbon neutrality, forest management, managing the greenhouse effect, promoting biofuel production, the use of hydropower of electricity, encouraging people to use solar water heaters, the use of the solar system, and other effectives of environmental preservation. At last, what I want to say is that please plant a saplings at your home on your birthday every year so that you can get a greenery in your home and also you can increase the trees in your country. I also have planted so many saplings in my home and also in my garden. Just to conclude my speech, thank you.
Happy Environment Day. The whole idea of World Environment Day is to create a natural and beautiful world free of pollution and any other scarcity. You should always be conscious of your activities and always strive to keep your environment clean and healthy, protect the natural resources, and use them in an efficient and careful manner. If we do not take proper steps to save our natural resources and environment, then everything will exhaust. It is our responsibility to save our Mother Earth and protect it from hazards, and it will help us to lead a healthy future and healthy life. We celebrate Environment Day to raise awareness about environmental health and to prevent damages by taking preventive measures. The theme of this year is ecosystem restoration. So let us join our hands together and start loving our Mother Earth.
Good morning to you all, respected Asha ma'am and my dear friends. Today it's Akrit Mayur going to speak on the topic the natural environment. Everything present around us is called environment. It includes all living and non-living things in our surroundings is known as natural environment. The life of humans and animals is entirely dependent on environment. Our natural environment is being destroyed due to our adverse activities that are a big threat to our natural environment. Instead of planting a trees, we are adding natural or artificial things like buildings, complex vehicles, and dangerous gases. The mankind has been degrading the natural components of environment. It has been misusing the environment to attain success and prosperity. Our life is interconnected with every component present in our surroundings. The air which we breathe continuous to live, water we frequent drink are the parts of our environment. This is the nitrogen cycle of our natural components of environment. This disturbs caused in our environment affects the balance of a natural environment. One of the major reasons of environmental degradation is a global issue. It is adversely affecting the physical and mental health of humans. It has negatively affected our daily lives. Our nature is being polluted due to industrial waste, the agricultural waste increasing pollution, smoke of vehicles, use of plastic, fossil fuel combustion, and the wastages of factories. Man-made technological advancement is spoiling our environment excessively. It ultimately destroys the balance and equilibrium of nature, which fatal to all living forms on the earth. There are some threats to our environment as you see in this image, like air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, noise pollution, acid rain, little awareness. There are two dangerous pollutions in our nature: air pollution and uh, water pollution, which damages the earth. Water pollution is the release of substances into bodies of water that makes unsafe for human use and disturbs aquatic ecosystems. It caused by different contaminants including toxic waste, petroleum, disease causing microorganisms and plethora of different contaminants. Air pollution. Air pollution is a mixture of solid particles and gases in the air. It emissions chemicals from factories, dust, pollen and mold spores may be suspended as particles. Ozone is a layer. Ozone is a major part of polluting cities. When ozone forms air pollution, it is called smog. Some air pollutants and get poisoned. To get a knowledge about how environment is getting destroyed by the humans, we have to study the effects of human activities on environment in this part 1 and part 2. With this, today I'll conclude my speech. Thank you.
Be crazy, be stupid, be silly, be weird, be whatever. Because life is too short to be anything but being happy. Good morning to one and all, respected Asha ma'am and all my dear friends. Today I would like to speak on the topic happiness is a journey, not a destination. For the better understanding of this topic, I would like to first tell you a story. There was a king. He was once walking with his minister in his kingdom, and in the farm he saw a farmer along with his family, husband, wife and son. They were buzzing. They had so much life in them. Their faces were radiant. They were happy. They were beaming with joy. They were singing. They had so much affection and love for each other. And the king said, "Man, I have a massive palace and I have everything that one could dream for. And these guys are more happier than me. Why?" The minister said, "Sir, because this family is not a member of 99 Club." Then the king asked, "What is 99 Club?" The minister said, "Give me 99 gold coins, I will tell you." And the king gave him a bag of 99 gold coins. And the minister said, after 6 months, he would tell the king, "Not today." And the minister took the bag of 99 gold coins and put it right at the doorstep of the farmer. In the morning, when the farmer got up, he saw a bag right at his doorstep. He picked the bag, went back into his house. Excited as he was, he opened the bag and gosh, lo and behold, glittering gold coins. He had never come across such a stroke of good fortune. He emptied the contents of inside the bag on the floor and started counting. And 99, they were 99. No, I made a mistake on counting. I'm too excited. Let me count once again. And when the farmer counted once again, he again found 99 gold coins. He said, "Who is that idiot who forgot to put one more? He should have made it a round figure. Why 99? So he called his wife, "Please you count." So she counted and again she found 99 gold coins. Then again he said, "You are also not doing it right as well." So he called his son and again 99. He said, "God, we can't live like this. We have to make this 100." So he started working hard to get one gold coin, and it would take him months and years to get one. And then the wife was thinking, "My husband is such a nut. We have 19 gold coins and this guy doesn't spend anything." So she took 2 gold coins and went for shopping. Every day the guy would come in the evening and he would count the gold coins. So that day when he counted, they were only 97. First, one was less and now 3. So he shouted, "Where are the other 2 gold coins?" So she said, "Well, I'm not a nut like you. I thought I'll spend 2 gold coins and I went for shopping." Oh God, the farmer yelled, "I'm working hard, putting my blood and sweat to get that 1 gold coin, and you nuts are going and spending these gold coins." Meanwhile, his son again spent 2 more, and they were 95 lakhs. 6 months passed by, and the king and the minister were walking by, and the buzz had gone, the life had gone, the song had gone, the love had gone. Only arguments, fights, and bickering. And the king said, "What happened? How did they change so much in 6 months?" The minister said, "Now they are officially the members of 99 Club." The king said, "Man, you took 99 gold coins. What is the 99 Club?" The minister said, 99 Club is a club of those who have 99 gold coins, but in running after the one, they don't use their 99 gold coins. In running behind that 1 coin, in trying to reach 100, what is the point if you forgot to utilize the 99? I have learnt one thing in life and thoroughly believe in it. Don't wait for the destination. Start finding happiness while you are on the journey. Don't postpone your happiness to then. I'll go to 10th class, I'll go to 12th class, then I'll get a job, then this will happen, that will happen. Today I may have the greatest challenge. That doesn't mean I should postpone my satisfaction. Today I may be in the middle of the greatest chaos. That doesn't mean I should postpone my satisfaction. So happiness is a journey, not a destination. Thank you one and all. Stay home, stay safe. Jai Hind.
Good morning to you all, respected Asha ma'am and all my dear friends. Today, it's Sai Kirat Samarth, representing Vaishal House, going to speak on the topic self-confidence. Self-confidence refers to the state of mind where a person pushes their boundaries and encourages belief within oneself. It's something which comes from self-love in order to have confidence in yourself. One must love oneself to get freedom from constant doubt. Now I'll tell how you can attain success. Don't be far-fetched to say that self-confidence is a key to success. If not, it's definitely the first step towards success. When a person has self-confidence, they are halfway through the battle. People in school and workplaces achieve success by taking more initiatives and being more forward and active in life. Moreover, they tend to make better decisions because of having confidence in oneself. Thus, it makes them stand out of the crowd. When you stand apart, people will definitely notice you. Thus, it increases your chances of attaining success in life. Alternatively, if there is a person who does not trust or believe in himself, it will be tough for him. They'll find it hard to achieve success because they'll be exposed to failure as well as criticism. Thus, without self-confidence, they may not get back on their feet as someone else who possesses self-confidence. In addition to gaining success, one enjoys a variety of perks as well. For instance, you can find a job more easily. Similarly, you may find the magnitude of difficult job lesser than it is. Importance of self-confidence. Self-confidence allows us to face our failure and own up in a positive light. Moreover, it helps us to raise many times. This helps instill a quality in use which ensures we do not give up till we succeed. Similarly, self-confidence instills optimism in us. People who have self-confidence are not lucky, they are smart. They do not rely on others to achieve success. They rely on their own abilities to do that. While self-confidence is important, it is also important to not to become overconfident, as we know anything in excess can be bad for us. Similarly, overconfidence is also an exception. When you become overconfident, you do not acknowledge the criticism. When you don't do that, you do not work on yourself. Thus, it stops your growth. So, it is essential to have moderation which can let you attain the just right amount of self-confidence and self-love, which will assure you success and happiness in life. All in all, a person will gain self-confidence from their own personal experience and decision. No one speech or conversation can bring an overnight change. It is gradual but constant process. We must all participate in it. It will take time, but once you achieve it, nothing can stop you from conquering every height in life. Why it is so important to have self-confidence? Self-confidence allows the person to free themselves from self-doubt and negative thoughts about oneself. When you are more fearless, you'll have less anxiety. This is what self-confidence can offer you. It will also help you to take smart risks and get rid of social anxiety. At last, I want to conclude by saying that be confident and lead your life with happiness.
To you all. Today it's me, Karashritan, representing Hoysla House, going to talk about AI or artificial intelligence. I'll be going over its definition, types, and uses. Artificial intelligence is intelligence demonstrated by machines that mimic cognitive functions associated to the human mind, like learning, reading, and problem solving. Unlike the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals, which involves consciousness and emotions. As machines become increasingly capable, tasks considered to require intelligence are often removed from the definition of AI by a phenomenon commonly known as the AI effect. A quip in Tesla's theorem says, AI is whatever that hasn't been done yet. For instance, optical character recognition is frequently excluded from things considered to be AI, having become a routine technology in our modern day systems. Modern machine capabilities, generally classified as AI, include successfully understanding human speech, competing at the highest level in strategic game systems such as chess and Go, and also imperfect information games like poker. They are also used in other services like self-driving cars, intelligent routing in content delivery networks, and military situations. AI technologies are categorized by their capacity to mimic human characteristics, the technology they use to do this, the real-world application, and the theory of mind. Using these characteristics for reference, all artificial intelligence systems, real and hypothetical, fall into one of three types. Artificial narrow intelligence, which has a narrow range of abilities. Artificial general intelligence, which is on par with human capabilities. Artificial superintelligence, which is more capable than a human. Now I would like to talk about its uses in the future and its plans. You can use AI for different things like daily chores which have a rinse and repeat process. Even the cyber security is mainly done by them. Many projects from the corporate industries like Google Brain and Human Brain projects are under development. But AI is like a double-edged sword, which can either help us and work together with us, or as written in many science fictions and as a popular theory, they may overtake society with their intellect. So we must not let it get out of control. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all present over here, respected Asha ma'am and all my dear friends. I am Cadet Rohit Kumar on this dais to speak on the topic, the choice of a right career in youths. The choice of career or profession is not so easy. It has become all the more difficult for want of adequate guidance and counseling services in India. Most of them suffer from indecision, lack of orientation and guidance. The youth feels hopeless and frustrated because of unemployment. The choice of right career may result in success, happiness, and bright future. The matter of choosing a profession should be decided as early as possible. It is better if one decides at the stage of school learning. But the school going students are not the best judge in the matter because they need guidance, counsel of parents, teachers, etc. If they are provided proper vocation guidance at this stage, they can choose a profession accordance with their aptitude, capability, and financial resource. Life has become complex these days. There is a cutthroat competition for employment. Students find themselves standing at crossroads and do not know what to do. There are many professions such as law, teaching, engineering, technical trades, business, commerce, position in armed forces, etc. But all these professions require special aptitude, training, and know-how. One cannot choose an occupation at random. If you are brave, bold, adventurous, and daring, you can choose a military officer or a police career. One should never mistake a mere liking for a real talent for a particular profession. Once you have chosen a career, the path of your professional life, you must tread it with full of determination, perseverance, and tenacity of purpose. Thus, to put it all in a nutshell, the goal should be in your view clear and bright. Often there would be difficulties, but they can be overcome. You must plot with high spirit and sense of fulfilling the mission of your life. Put your best in your profession you have chosen. Excellence should be your aim. The vision of excellence is one of the greatest keys to the bright future in any career. Thank you. Jai Hind.
The more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war. Good morning to all. Today it's I, Cadet Saishwar, going to say a few words about war is not a solution. War is not a solution to any problem is rightly said, and the history is proof of the destruction and loss caused by the war. To get you a brief idea about my topic, I have divided it into 3 subtopics. First, cause of a war. When a country wants something from another, but it is not ready to agree with it, the friction starts. From then onwards, they fight each other over that reason. For example, India owns Jammu and Kashmir, but Pakistan, who say they claim it and want it, have caused many fights since independence. The famous ones are 1971 and 1999 wars. Even in the World War II, Germany, headed by Hitler, wanted to conquer Europe. But it's natural to not to give one's own territory. It caused mass destruction and around 75 million people died in this war. It is clear that greed is what causing the war. And once Gandhiji said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for anybody's greed. Second, aftermath. After every war, there are lakhs of soldiers died on both sides, and that many families hurt. And even the soldier doesn't have any enmity with the opposite fellow, but due to the bad politics and war, they are killed. Apart from this, there is an economic depression in both sides of the war, fighting the war, and which leads to lesser GDP and lesser funds released for public welfare. We all know the economic depression in Germany after the World War First. Due to the heavy reparations and overprinting the currency, its currency collapsed. A person wanting to buy a bread had to carry loads of amount of money to just buy it. Apart from this, there is an impact on healthcare and infrastructure also. We all know the effect of nukes. When America bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear bombs, the whole cities were literally burned down to ashes. And even now, newborn children are born handicapped or with some other abnormality. Part 3. Conclusion. After observing the facts and figures, we can say that actually there is no need for a war. We can prevent it by peace and treaties. Nowadays, most wars are prevented by UN, which was founded on 24th October 1945, soon after the World War II. It was mainly created to prevent any such wars in future. We can also prevent wars by diplomacy and armed control. When a civil war broke out in 1846 in Switzerland, with less than 150 casualties and 500 soldiers wounded, since then they never fought a war. Even though both world wars were fought near the country's border, it never sent its troops into action. If there is no war, there is no need for maintaining an army, and the cost of equipment can be given to healthcare and public welfare. That is what was done by Jose Ferrer, the then president of Costa Rica. On December 1st, 1948, he abolished the army and dedicated the budget to healthcare and education of the country. But in a country like India, with aggressive rivals like China and Pakistan, it is an act of foolishness to demilitarize the army. And the whole wide world knows that we never attacked first. And we should maintain this quality of ours. And the whole world should take motivation from us, because if nobody is ready to fight a war would never be created. And every people in the world would live happily. Except the Ares, god of war himself. At last, I would like to conclude by quoting APJ Abdul Kalam. When there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. Today I am going to speak on the topic prepare for the worst and hope for the best. First of all, let me tell you the meaning of this phrase. To expect for the best result, all the while prepared with the in case if it is the worst one. Some of the biggest names in the militaries and the civil world live by this quote. Knaves are the ones who come to this world expecting that everything is going to be fine, that things will just happen and opportunities will themselves come to them at right time. These people may wait for an opportunity for rest of their life. So many leaders are familiar with this same philosophy. You can never be prepared enough to be realistic. Things go wrong all the time. What makes a difference is how prepared you are and how realistic you are in that situation. The best example that is being realistic is the military men and the security of this country. This country spends billions and billions of dollars with intel because the optimism that nobody else in the world ever tried to hurt us already cost 10,000 lives in the September 11, 2001. Now the government is always prepared with the nation for any situation, always hoping that it doesn't happen, being realistic that it could. A famous Chinese general once said, because of a bad horse show, the horse couldn't deliver the message in time. Because a message wasn't delivered in time, the captain lost. Because the captain lost a battle, the nation lost a world and its freedom. At last, in my conclusion, not always things work out for the best. Be prepared for the worst, known when to move to a different strategy to accomplish your goal. It's great to be optimistic and hope for the best, but you need to have the mentality to be realistic, and things will not always go according to your plan. Thank you.